There once was a ship that put to sea, and the name of the ship was the Belly of Tea. The winds blew hard, her bow did down, oh blow me bully boys blow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Before the boat had hit the water, the whale's tail came up and caught her. All hands to the side, harpooned and fought her when she dived down low. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. No line was cut, no whale was freed, and the captain's mind was not on greed, but he belonged to the whaleman's creed. She took that ship in tow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.
Hello, and welcome to Luck Check. Thank you so much, everyone, for hopping in. Welcome to the luckcheck Talkback. This is the second one of these that we've done. This is the only show on Twitch featuring these specific people talking about this specific thing. My name is Johnny McAllister, and joining me tonight are two distinguished guests, Connor Griffin and Ian McAllister. How's it going, guys? Did I say your last name wrong?
You did, and it just hurts. You know what I mean?
I spelled it correctly.
Hurts.
I just want to let you know that I spelled it the right way, and then I just said Griffin anyways. You're welcome.
Thank you. No, yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good.
Very good. Now, today on Luck Check, we aren't doing anything too crazy. It's going to be a very casual, laid-back kind of chat between the three of us. We're here to answer your questions about the show, about us, and about life in general, so feel free to shout out any questions you have in the Twitch chat whenever you feel like it. To start us off, though, this is a special episode because we're trying something a little bit different. That's right. We've got face reveals live on twitch.tv/luckcheck. Oh god, here we go. Hi, my name's Johnny. I'm playing as Gellen Wavebreaker. Underneath me on the stream is Connor. You can introduce yourself, who you're playing.
I'm playing as Valandras. Last name, there somewhere.
Yeah, perfect. An indeterminable last name.
Yeah.
And over on the top left of your screen is my brother.
Ian McAllister. I'm playing as Charles Maddox, or Chuck.
Very good. We had a great session this past weekend. Connor's one of our regular cast members, one of our concurrent standard party, but Ian, you joined us as a guest character for this past weekend, or not weekend, for this past Wednesday. It was great to have you. And that's something we plan on doing more often as we go into the future. We're going to have more guests as we go. I already have the next two are all lined up. Just need to find out scheduling and, what times work best for everyone. But other than that, we've got a fun group of people lined up to show off and have them play fun, exciting characters on LuckCheck. Now, I do have a bit of a warm-up question for everyone, which is just a simple thing. I asked this last week for the other players when we had Ben and Alex on. But what is your TTRPG or D&D history? I can go ahead and start with that if you want time to think about it. I have played pretty much exclusively D&D, but I've only been playing for about 2.5 to 3 years now. I started playing, I want to say just before the pandemic hit, and didn't have a great time my first time playing, mostly just because I didn't know what was going on. It was my sister and I, Tovi, some of our other friends, and then our friend was the DM, and it was just a bunch of people that had no idea what D&D was supposed to be, and we were like, I get to do anything I want with no consequences? Cool, I shoot the town guard or something, and it was just that type of murder hobo mess. But then I discovered that D&D can actually be a very fun and engaging experience, which is what led to my current home game, playing in Tovi's first home game, and now with the two of us together, running Luck Check has been very satisfying, very fulfilling to do. Yeah, what is the case for the two of you? In any order, I don't care.
You go ahead first, Ian.
So I am almost brand new to tabletop role playing. I started playing D&D, correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny, 3 months ago.
That sounds right, yeah.
It was Ben, who plays Kamos, and Johnny both. Ben has been nagging me for literal years to start playing D&D. And then Johnny was like, hey, I'll run a thing for our usual game night as a one-off. Come play it. And I was like, fine. It was fun. And then throughout then, it's just been, I've been playing in Alex's home game that they're DMing. And then a couple short 1 or 2 shots that Johnny's run for some friends. But yeah, more or less brand new to D&D. It's been fun. Hoping to start a campaign of my own someday when I find the time, which will never happen. But you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah. For me, I've probably been playing D&D exclusively. I've also played Monster of the Week, which is another tabletop game as well, which I enjoy far better than D&D, but I love D&D, so it's like, yeah, it's crazy. But I've been playing D&D. I started with D&D when the I guess I can just name drop the Adventure Zone, right? When they came out and did their first episode of the podcast, I was like, this is absolutely fantastic. I want to do this really bad. And then I met our buddy Mike. And well, I knew Mike beforehand, but he was talking about D&D, but I just had never played. And then I listened to the podcast, and I was like, Mike, I want to play right now. So probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, that might be a little long, but something like that. But I'm not so like I've been playing for a very long time, right? Or not a very long time, but a long time. But I don't know the rules too well still.
That's fair.
I've never really cared to like look into it. And I just like playing, and
that's fair.
So that's my experience.
That's my plan when DMing, is to not actually learn the rules and just rely on players more experienced than I am to be like, hey, is this a thing that can happen? And then based on their reaction to be like, yeah, it's fine, just go.
Yeah, when I DM, that's what happens with me, right? I'm just like, yeah, sure, that makes sense to me, sure.
That's going to be a problem if Ben ends up being one of your players, because he'll just lie to you to get what he wants.
Oh yeah.
He'll just say, for sure.
I know that in advance, so I know for when Ben asks to do something, just preemptively, whether or not I know it's allowed, to be like, you can't do that, Ben. I'm sorry.
Can I?
You want to roll? You want to roll to attack? We play by the rules here, buddy.
You roll to attempt to attack. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I know D&D.
In chat, Cacti President, which is secretly Alex the whole time, said Monster of the Week is just supernatural with rules. Can you comment on this?
Yeah, so like it definitely can be. But again, Mike ran a campaign of Monster of the Week because I was selling him about Monster of the Week. Because again, Adventure Zone did it, and it definitely wasn't supernatural the way that we did it. But I can definitely understand that for sure.
It's fair. Very good. So I do have a follow-up question. Not follow-up, just a brand new, unrelated, whole cloth question. What was the original inspiration for your character on luckcheck? Now, this is going to be fun for you, Connor, I realize. Because you're, I think, the only player who brought in a character from a previous idea. So you might be the only player that has thought put into their character.
So much.
So we might want to save that for last really quick. I'll shoot over to Ian really quick. What's the inspiration for Chuck?
All right. So here's the thing. I'm really bad at coming up with characters in general. I'm kind of the polar opposite of Johnny in this way, in that Johnny will like fall asleep and wake up with 20 new character ideas, whether those are NPCs or player characters or big bads. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't do that. So what I do is I make my favorite video game characters into D&D characters.
Yeah.
So Chuck is based off a build for the final boss of Kingdom Hearts 2, Xemnas. That's how I made Chuck. And then Johnny was like, what does he look like? And I was like, I don't know. He has red hair and he's kind of fat. And that was it. That was all I had as far as the characters. Like, and then I'd flesh him out. Like, I was like, oh, he's a live free kind of guy. He likes gambling. Because I was like, it's like a piratey times kind of story. I could see, someone who sits around in a tavern all day trying to cheat people out of their money with card games. I thought it was an interesting idea. But as far as like building the character goes, entirely based on Xemnas. That's why he has kind of that one big turn to go all out. That's a thing that character does in the final boss fight.
Yeah.
Johnny will also let you know that my very first campaign I ran with him, I played another Kingdom Hearts character that was a barbarian. They're just really easy to turn into D&D characters because all the bosses of Kingdom Hearts 2 are based on like D&D archetypes.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it's free. I'll just steal from that game and put it in this game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it works. And then you were talking about you had an idea for making a Mikolash-based character from Bloodborne.
Yeah. Just scream a lot with a cage on your head and shoot tentacles out of your arm.
It's a good time.
You're like all the way there.
Exactly. I did not. I went over this last week, so I'll keep it more brief. But neither of you were necessarily here for that. So for Gellen's inspiration was just based on the idea of Okay, I want to play. It's funny because he's a paladin. The original idea was I want to be a swashbuckler rogue, and that's still the plan. But the goal was I want to be a swashbuckler rogue, but I feel like that's a little boring to just be that. Like it seems obvious to be a swashbuckler. So what can I do to make it interesting? And then I was like, swashbuckler rogue fits really remarkably well with the paladin multiclass if you're doing a dex-based paladin. Because you get abilities as a swashbuckler rogue that let you get sneak attack if you're within 5 feet of an enemy and no one else is within 5 feet of you. So the whole idea is, as a paladin, get access to command or compelled duel, try and use a spell to force an enemy to fight you one-on-one, use your chunkier hit dice and AC as a paladin to be a better frontline fighter, just get people into that one-on-one situation, and then anytime I crit, sneak attack smite, just, rinse, wash, repeat. So it started as an idea for a build first, and then I didn't really care what paladin class I went for because I knew I wasn't going to go too far with it. But then I saw the one made by Matthew Mercer for Critical Role, which was the Oath of the Open Sea paladin. I was like, that actually seems really cool, and it fits kind of the piratey aesthetic. It builds in, it all works. Yeah, and that's where Gellen came from.
Nice.
Yeah. Don't comment on it. Exactly, Dre. Get out of here.
So, like Johnny said, Valandras is from another campaign. In that campaign, so basically the backstory of Valandras. I'm just gonna put the backstory out there. He is a fallen Aasimar, which is a fallen angel, basically, that grew up a human and then died, and then went to heaven, wherever the god he resides in, or whatever heaven that would be, or whatever. It's not important because I never thought about that. And I was, while I was a human, I was a tactician of war, like extremely good at battle. So the god of who I served at that point, I guess, wanted to use me against his brother, who was also in heaven because they were waging war. And then his brother also wanted to use me to wage war back against him. So I was being used like a lot. So then I did something against the god, got kicked out of heaven, and like Valandras' whole thing before this campaign, and it's not so much now because it just doesn't feel right in this campaign, but it was to find an army to go back to my celestial domain and take it over and become the new god of that.
I like that.
Of that realm. Right. That was Valandras' whole thing. But now Valandras is more along the lines of just like going with the flow. I definitely want to, I think, become, and this is still not sure, but I definitely want to become a Bloodbreaker, because that dude that we found was cool as hell.
Perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, no really like inspiration. I kind of just thought of the character, and
yeah,
I was on short notice for this campaign, so I was like, I'll just bring this guy in.
That's a good question, actually. How far before the start of the campaign did Tovi invite you? Because you were
a good question.
You were close to a last second. Like, Toby didn't even ask me beforehand if it was like, hey, are you cool if we bring in someone else? He was just like, hey. He pinged everyone, was like, hey, by the way, Connor's playing. And we were like, oh, okay, cool. And then like the next day we had our first session or something. It was something.
Yeah, it was. Do you remember what day we started? Because his first message to me was on the 2nd of last month.
Second of last month.
So the start of last month.
That would line up with the immediate Wednesday of that week was our first session. Because we're on.
Like a couple days notice.
Yeah, this past Wednesday was session number 7.
Yeah.
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 So we're no complaints here. It's been great having you on. Valandras is an
Thank
excellent addition, and as soon as Toby has messaged everyone, was like, hey, by the way, our friend Connor's playing. I was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. That'll work.
Nice.
So it was all worked out in the end. I was just very surprised with the suddenness of it and that the quick turnaround on that.
Yeah,
it was good to have. I think.
Whereas the build, or like the build for Chuck had lying around for a solid month before I was asked to be a guest, because it was for another character, and so I was just like, oh, this is a build that exists. I'll just change the appearance, the name, with that.
Yeah.
So I have an entire folder of just vague warlock based characters to just so that when someone's like, hey, I'm doing a short campaign, I'm like, I have a level 5 ready to go.
Very good. I'm the type, I'll have character ideas, but I always make a new character for every campaign that I get asked, or everything I get asked to do, with the exception of, like, if someone's like, hey, I want to run a level 10 one shot, it doesn't matter what you bring because it's not important, then I'll be like, okay, I'll bring my Gloomstalker, Assassin, Sorcerer, Cleric build, and it'll be, we'll do that. So that'll work out. So I do want to ask, this is kind of an unrelated to D&D question, but still kind of a getting to know people question. What do you guys do? What's your, like, deal, Just general question.
Well thought out question. Yeah. Valid answer opportunities.
Valid answer opportunities. No, I want to know, for instance, I will start. I am a game developer. I work on card games and programming video games, a lot of which is kind of self-taught at the moment and not actively paying me, but it's still what I do, so that I consider that my focus. You don't have to go into, like, this is where I work and this is my social security number, but, just a little bit about, like, hey, what do you do when you're not on stream just killing pirates?
So I, like Ben, am a grad student in physics. That's how Ben got introduced to this group, was through me.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben has given us his social security number in chat. It's fine.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, that's been my day job for several years now. Ben and I were in the same year, so he just graduated faster than I did. It's fine. I'm not salty at all.
Very good.
I just do warehouse work, just your normal day-to-day stuff, and I hate it, but that's what I do.
Absolutely. I love to see it.
Other stuff I do, though, I make music, I stream myself occasionally, play video games, play
Very
D&D,
fun.
hang out with buddies.
That's a good caveat. What about music?
Before. Caveat is not the word you mean.
No, I don't care.
I think you mean segue.
That is what I mean. Segue is what I mean. I am the worst dungeon master when it comes to creating sentences in my brain and then putting them through my mouth, because when I get nervous, I don't have the fight or flight. I freeze instead. And so the thing in my brain that makes the words come out stops connecting to the rest of my brain and my mouth. And so it's just, when I get nervous, the sentences stop working. It is truly terrible.
I'm the same exact way.
No. That is a good segue that Connor made to a new question that I thought of because he brought it up. Music. You say you make music. What do you use for that? My brother and I are both relatively music aligned, is what I'll say. I don't consider myself a musician because I don't really play or create anything, but grew up in that space.
Though.
Sure.
You got an amazing voice.
I would disagree, but I appreciate it.
Well, everyone disagrees, with their own voice. But no, I use FL Studio.
Okay.
Just make beats and like rap beats and more EDM stuff.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I, for a while, was playing mandolin as my primary instrument, and then I took a break from it and then didn't want to get back into it because I lost the calluses. And mandolin is an 8-stringed, very small instrument, so there's a lot of pressure on the strings, and it hurts like hell if you don't have calluses for that. And that shit hurts, so I just didn't want to get back into it. So instead, I started playing bass, which is much easier on your fingers. It truthfully is way easier than the mandolin on your fingers.
Mandolin is like borderline razor wire.
Oh yeah,
like it is small strings, very tight.
No instrument has made me bleed more times restringing it than a mandolin. And by more, I mean literally no instrument has made me bleed other than my mandolin.
Yeah.
It's just while restringing the E string, it's just like you have to do it twice, and if it touches your skin, it goes through it.
And this is why my instrument of choice is drums, because you don't have to worry about fretting anything.
Nice.
The downside of that is that when I went to school, I left my drums at my parents' house, so I haven't played drums in like a literal decade.
Ah, that sucks.
Because there's no space for them in my current place, and they're expensive to move.
Yeah,
that's very true. I used to. So it's weird actually. Growing up, I took guitar class.
Oh God, the blinding light.
I took guitar class. Yeah, sorry, that sounded like it was raining, but I think it's just my AC. I took guitar class coming up because I like the guitar a lot, and my brother played the drums. But in like starting high school, or maybe a little into high school, we just switched out of nowhere, and I started playing the drums, and then he started playing the guitar.
Hell yeah!
And now he's been playing the guitar for probably 10 years now. He's really good, but I haven't touched the drums in forever.
Really cool.
I just do stuff on FL Studio.
Word Nerd did guitar lessons for a semester and hasn't gone back because of the calluses. I respect it. They are a nightmare to lose and then have to regrow, reproduce.
I played bass like a little bit for like when I was needed in a band. I was just kind of like, hey, we need someone to fill in on bass. Can you play 4 notes in a row? And I was like, yeah, I can figure that out. Like, okay, good.
Yeah. I assume not super serious, but it's a question from chat. What's @Chuck's plan for life? You can answer that however you like.
It's to steal as much money from people who have too much of it as possible. And then instead of redistributing it to the poor, keep it until he has too much of it until he has more than needed.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just live off that forever. And occasionally shoot a rival pirate with a bunch of Eldritch blasts.
There you go. Very good.
That's Chuck's plans for life.
Yeah. Perfect. You're getting furious requests for dog photos or dog images. Oh my god.
Oh,
an absolute champion.
What a pupper.
He's a good puppy.
Hey, friend.
There we go.
Dog stream.
Oh, yeah. You're interrupting.
Chat room, in case you're not Twitch savvy, type :Franker Z : and you'll be happier.
I'm among the non-Twitch savvy. Emotes scare me.
Very good. Trying to think. Do either of you have any questions or topics? I didn't give you enough time to prepare any, so I have no worries if you don't. But I'm drawing a blank because I did not do enough preparation for today.
I was gonna ask. So, as someone who is new to D&D and also bad at designing characters, when you guys start building a character, I know Johnny, you said that Gellen was designed like mechanically first. Other things second, and Valandras seems to be the other way around at the very least, of just very backstory first. What or what is your guys' process for coming up with a new character for a campaign? If you have a consistent one, or if it's just scattershot, whatever sticks.
For me, yeah, it's kind of scattershot. I don't really I don't ever like build wise. I've never done like think of a build and then be like, okay, that's really cool. Let's make a character. Just because like I don't know too much about builds and stuff. I just always kind of make something. I'll just be like, okay, I'm gonna be playing human fighter. Let's try and make up a backstory, and that's how it goes for me every time. I like story more than anything else. I'm also not like a big fan of min maxing for myself. Like I don't care to like for builds, for example.
Yeah.
I just couldn't care less. It's just like I want to have fun in D&D, and I do a lot of stupid stuff in D&D. So if my character dies, I would hate for me spending all this time making a build for my character to die. You know?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I can see that. I will. It can vary pretty rapidly for me if I've only ever played in or I guess 2 campaigns at this point, not including luckcheck. But so I will trying to think exactly what the process is. I think it's usually I will have mechanical ideas that I would like to do, but then I won't necessarily have any actual like characterizations for that individual. It could just be something like for a new campaign, for example, I would definitely want to know how like the world works, what the like expectations of the players and the characters are. So I want to build based on what the DM's trying to put together. So there was an opportunity I had recently to play in kind of like once or twice a month campaign that I'm doing right now, where the pitch was I believe it's a pre-created, like a pre-constructed scenario, but it's the pitch was something like you are in Baldur's Gate, so it's like an official D&D world and setting, and something happens, you go to hell and have to figure stuff out. And I was like, sweet, awesome. My character is going to be a shitty rich kid who doesn't like anyone and causes a bunch of problems, just wastes all of his parents' money drinking, and then gets kidnapped for whatever reason, gets used as a just ritual used as a material in a ritual, and comes out the other side as a werewolf. And then instead of the goal was, instead of becoming like a werewolf barbarian or a blood hunter order of the Lycan, it was like okay, I still have a lot of money, and I've retained my thinking mind. I'm in a permanent, like, somewhat werewolf form, kind of like Jawbone from Fantasy High. But I still have a lot of money. Let's use that money to purchase an illegal education for myself and become a wizard to try and figure out how to solve this. So I'm playing as a level 1 or level 2 Order of Scribes werewolf wizard in a campaign every month right now, or once or twice a month.
That seems sick.
It's been a time. Sorry, I took literal years to answer that
No,
question.
that was awesome though.
That was
Yeah,
good.
that was
Yeah,
awesome.
Another question from Cacti President in chat. What has been y'all's favorite character to play so far from, I believe, any campaign? Just in general, what's your favorite character to play?
I'll start if you want time to think here, Ian.
Sure.
So in every Saturday I play a campaign over at Mike's house. And I keep bringing Mike up a lot, but I made a character who is. So the idea for this character originally was Tim the New York Orc, and he was gonna have a basketball as a weapon, and he was gonna wear Tim's. He was gonna wear a wife beater, but it was like a fantasy setting, so he was like, "No, you can't do that." And I was like, "I get that. Trust me, I get that." So what ended up happening was I chose to play a human fighter instead, and I still wanted to play the orc. So what we did was, during the day, I was a human fighter, and during night, I transformed from this. I was a lady, Alexis Goldshire is her name, a human fighter, and I transformed into an orc fighter named Tim the New Fork Orc, which New Fork was a town that Mike made specially for me in the northern mountains where those orcs resided. And
Very good.
so what happened was the orcs in this world of this tribe that I made, kinda, ritualistically to get married, what they do is a ritual ceremony to where the orcs, the two getting married, fuse together, right? They become one. But Alexis, at a young age, I think it was like 15 or 16 or something like that, was out horseback riding with someone, and the dude knocked her off the horse and was like leaving her for dead. But Tim found her and did this ceremony on her to save her life. But it ended up that, they became one. So, yeah, so that's probably my favorite character to play. But unfortunately, throughout the campaign, Tim has died, and now I'm just Alexis. But still love the character. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
That's a very fun character idea.
It's so cool.
You just became a were-orc.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
It's a very cool
I think
way.
my current favorite, so I don't have that many characters to pull from that I've played, but in Alex's home game, I play a lizard folk sorcerer. And again, has to be based on something else because I'm not a creative person. This is my character from Elder Scrolls Online is an Argonian, so the lizard folk from Elder Scrolls. So that's been fun just because that home game is me, Johnny, and our sister, and then DM'd by Alex. So there's a lot of chaotic sibling energy that Alex has to put up with, which makes it very fun to roleplay in there because it's just, you get to just bounce crazy ideas off. Like our sister has a homunculus that is a duck that a goblin carved out of wood.
Yeah.
And so they just imbued it with, I don't know, homunculus energy. And
I love it.
So this duck just kind of waddles around and quacks force blasts.
Yeah. It's good.
I love it.
So that's been a fun time.
Nice.
It's a very good one.
Sorcerer is actually one of the only classes I have not played. It's Sorcerer and something else I can't remember, but I've always wanted to.
Sorcerer is very fun. I also have not officially played a sorcerer, but I have played several characters with Meta Magic Adept, the feat, just because those 2 sorcery points put in a lot of work.
You only really need Quicken Spell to turn some things into absolute bullshit.
Oh yeah. I would say for me, this would be another thing that you're in, Connor, and shouting out our friend Mike again. Shout out to East Coast Magic. Wherever you are in the world right now, we love you.
At work.
At work, yeah. God bless. No, in his streams that are currently on hiatus because of said work, I play 2 characters which I love very dearly, but I think my favorite of the 2 is one Gestalt Eldridge, who is a fairy river pirate who in his prime was an adept pirate and was a singer / bard for this group of river pirates, and then lost a big battle. It was the I think it was called the battle at Nettle Pass was the name I came up and pitched to Mike, and it was just like, yeah, here you go. Here's just a document with all of the ideas I have for this character. But the entire conception of the character was, I want to play a bard. I haven't played that class yet, so I know I'm playing a bard. I don't particularly care what subclass I'm playing, so I ended up just picking College of Creation because it was interesting. I know I want to play a fairy, but I also know that flying speed can be very annoying to DM for at level 1. So I was just like, hey, at the start, my character is going to be an alcoholic and overweight, and he's going to be too fat to fly. And that was the character's idea. And we was like, we can build on that character and say, as the campaign goes, if it goes for long enough, he'll lose some weight and he can fly again. But for now, he's too big. And then the rest of the conception for that character was that I knew me as a person, if I was going to be a bard, I was going to want to like role play the actual bardic inspiration aspect. So I was just like, okay, what am I going to do? I could sing, but I don't love my singing voice and I don't want to just make things up every time. So instead it was just, okay, I have an idea for how Gestalt acts. He's kind of like he likes people, but he's also kind of a shitty alcoholic, just in the terms of he smells bad all the time and he can be very abrasive to people. I'm gonna base him off of Tom Waits. And so it was just this tiny, like 3 foot tall, fat fairy bard that anytime he gave bardic inspiration to someone, he would just look at them and go, your love's like a faucet, pour it all over me. And that was just, that's how he gave bardic inspiration, and that was the entire idea. That has been my favorite character to play so far.
I like Gestalt a lot.
It was very fun. I love, genuinely one of the things that has made me like playing Gestalt so much is your character and the relationship our characters have. It was a very cool idea of Mike to have us like roll for relationship traits between people.
Yeah.
It was very good.
I like it a lot. I'm playing in another one of those campaigns as a robot.
Same.
A Warforged. And my name was 3R0RR0R, so error,
Yeah.
403. And the whole concept is that I was I'm a Warforged. I'm a medical Warforged. That's why I was built. Because on this big ship that we're on or whatever, the doctors were robots. They were all medical robots. But
right.
the someone on the outside of this big thing took over my body, or took over my central, whatever robots have.
Yeah, the CPU and central processing.
Right. Yeah. Yes, my CPU, and is like controlling me now.
Gotcha.
And I really like that concept a lot. It hasn't come to fruition because we only had one session, but
I hate Warforged. I don't like I don't like the idea of them. I don't like robots in fantasy, and I'm playing a Warforged in the other stream of mics that I'm in, and I like playing that character. It's very fun. But for me, when I think D&D, I think like high fantasy, medieval, that type of vibe. And so like auto gnomes and glitchlings and Warforged are just like, what are you doing in my campaign? Get out of
Johnny,
my world.
Confirmed Chrono Trigger hater.
I mean, listen.
Can't stand robots in fantasy.
My favorite character in Chrono Trigger is the cave woman, and I haven't played past getting her. I met her and I was like, nice, this character slaps, and then I never finished that game.
That's after the robot, though. You need to get past the robot to get to her.
I know, but truthfully, it's a bold statement of me to say that my favorite character is any character other than Frog in a game where Frog exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of more questions. I did a great job preparing for this. I promise I'll do better in the future.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it's, just hanging out. I'm meeting Ian for the first time, which is fantastic for me, as I wasn't here last session. Still need to listen to the last week's VOD, which you can do over on luckcheck's YouTube.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mash. Oh, it's gonna be a race. He was faster. You hate to see it. But did you know that we also have a Discord? Ooh. And just
Discord.
like that.
Damn it.
Just give me a quick second while I'm thinking, or while maybe other people are thinking for me.
The important things that happened last session are everyone bounced town because someone was coming that they wanted to run from. That's why Chuck joined the party, is he needed a ride out of town. and then we fucked up some pirates after outfitting the ship with a bunch of weapons.
Hell yeah. I am disappointed I missed the first ship combat, but I'll be there for more, so that is okay.
I'll be honest, the ship combat portion of it, I had no idea what was going on because I've seen that document like once, and my job was basically just to give extra movement speed every turn.
Yeah, hey, that's your job.
It was first level maritime combat is a little basic, but it's good because there's a lot of rules involved in the maritime combat, which we'll need to get
rules
Toby.
That Ben needed to know, and I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Ben was captain, right?
Yeah, Kamos is the captain of the ship.
So he's in charge of like physically moving the ship through the
waters. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was kind of like, oh, there's some complicated ship movement happening. I'm just gonna add 10 to that.
Yeah. The Rigger is a very cool class that is completely unfinished, because I haven't finished it yet. But I have put together. You'll be happy to know if you studied that Google Doc for ages that several changes have been made to it to make it more streamlined. So it should be better. It should be easier to read now.
Damn it. I mean, damn it in a good way, I guess.
In a good way, yes.
If it's easier, yeah.
But as Drayam points out, it is very difficult to get used to at first. So we wanted level 1 to be very simple.
Yeah.
And we also didn't want to give a level in both maritime combat levels and in regular class levels at the same time. So, which is why currently everyone is still a first level crew, like crewmate, but a 5th level player character. No, I wanted to really quickly, something to give you guys some time to cover me in by thinking of a new question. Give some shout outs to some new followers that might not have, or that followed in between last Wednesday and now. Shout out to Distal's Place, Pixelated Bunny, Nina Raffle, Scorch Queen Cece, which is a cool ass name, and My Watch Woman. Thank you so much for the follows. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I do just want to say, real quick, I'm glad that you got to say those names and not Toby, because he would have botched every single one.
That's very true.
He would have dropped the ball.
I mean,
which actually, oh, you go ahead first.
I was gonna say, here's the thing: is I'm glad you weren't here this Wednesday because you would have been disappointed in me. As the fun part about having Ian on a stream is that he will correct me every time I say a word wrong, and I mean every time. So I'm
only like twice.
Oh yeah, I mean I only messed up twice, clearly.
Bad.
He was saying schooner instead of schooner.
I listen.
And I was like, look, you do run a ship-based campaign. You got to get the ship names right.
Why do they spell it like that if it's not to be pronounced like schooner? All right,
it's probably French.
Yeah. So it should be schooner if it's French. I'm right.
So I had a question for you, Johnny.
Yeah.
What is like the difficulties and also like good things about playing both an NPC and DMing, and like the whole switching thing with Toby?
Yeah, that's a good question. I got to be careful with this one because I could go on for way too long about it. But so I feel like there's 2 parts to that. So the difficulties for playing as a character and DMing at the same time, I personally find not to be too difficult, because the way I view it is very much, and Tovi and I are on the same page here. We had a conversation about it like before we made our characters and even started the stream. We're like, hey, this is how we should treat our characters when we're the DM, is they are NPCs when we're DMing. They are not player characters anymore. They are in the background. They are there to only be used by the rest of the players for information or for just for helping and doing basic things. And they're there as a tool to be used in case a conversation goes on a tangent for too long. Cool, I have a character here that holds emotional stake in the story and that the other players should be connected to in some way, that can walk up and say, hey gang, let's start moving. So there's a built-in like button that we can press that's saying, okay, let's move the story along by having one of our characters walk up and say, wow, it's really crazy that King Casimir Ackermain's coming to town. We should get out of here. And it's just, and then everyone's like, okay, yeah, that sounds serious. We should go.
Right.
So I find that to be very simple for me because I think it's a fun little way of just saying, all right, here's my character that I get to take out of his box and play him when Toby is DMing, and then when he is when I am playing, or sorry, when I'm the DM, I can take him and just wrap him up neatly and put him back, and then just be like, hey, look at this box. I'm gonna rattle it around a little bit and get you guys to do what I need you to do in a non-railroady, just like here's a prompt way.
Right.
And it works out.
Okay.
As for the second half of that question, I said I was going to take forever for it, and I'm very sorry.
No, do your thing.
I would not want to do luck check if it wasn't the way it is right now. The entire purpose was Tovey had just finished his campaign, his home game, and I really enjoy playing as a character in Tovey's games. And I was like, man, I want to play in another campaign by Tovey. And he was like, I was like, so what do you do in your next campaign? And he was like, I don't know. I kind of want to break, maybe in like 3 months. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to wait that long. And so I was like, what if we did a rotating like DM thing? And he's like, that sounds dumb. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then we played in Mike's game, and I was like, hey, Tovey, what if we streamed a rotating DM's game? And for some reason, he liked the pitch that time. Once you added let's do it for the public to view. Let's let other people see how stupid of an idea this is. And he liked it that time. But no, in all seriousness, it was very much I really enjoy playing in Tovey's games. I think Tovey is incredible at what he does. He's very funny. He's very good at this kind of monster of the week style is very much his specialty that he really likes playing. And I was just very excited to do that, have that opportunity to kind of do this fun little thing with him. It's very cool.
Yeah. And your reward for playing in another Tovey campaign is that you got to be traumatized by giant bees.
It really was.
Oh man!
I was
a quick follow up to that as well is: do you guys like have a schedule of swapping DM them, or is it kind of just like okay? Yeah.
No, we have no idea. We were kind of playing it by ear. We swapped the first time, like right in the middle of a plan that he had, and he was just like, I'm going to California, so either there's no stream next week or you're DMing. And I was like, word, what were you planning? I'll finish it off. And so that's why we swapped the first time. We swapped back the next time, or this time, because this past Wednesday was my last time DMing until next rotation. Tovey is going to pick it up next week. We swapped this time before I finished all of the plans that I had, but we thought it was enough because I DM'd 4 sessions in a row, and I was like, okay, I could keep going, but I think for the purpose of this like stream, for the purpose of the presentation of it being a rotation, I think it shouldn't go much longer than this. So I'm going to pass it back to you with my notes of like, hey, this is what I had going on, but you can do whatever. Just that kind of idea.
Gotcha. Nice. Very nice.
We'll generally try and keep it into that 3 to 4 weeks a person and then back to the other.
Right.
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't have asked you a question because you were trying to think of more questions. It just came to my head.
No, that's perfect.
It didn't give you much time to think.
It's all good.
I was going to ask, or Connor, have you DM'd before? You experienced doing that, or are you mostly player?
I'm mostly a player. I've DM'd. I did a like just like a 2-session game with my dad and my brother and my sister a while back. And yeah, it was fun. I don't like to plan, and that like I feel like you need some planning for DMing. Like you don't have to have a lot, but just some planning, and I just don't plan at all. So it's very hard to make up that much bullshit. Like I'm pretty good at making up bullshit, but it's a lot for a 5-hour session or however long we played. But yeah, I'm mainly just the character.
Okay,
I understand.
Because I was gonna say, because something that I've been thinking about is as I kind of throw materials together to try DMing for the first time, is how to juggle what different players want out of the experience. Because I know that personally, as a player, like I like the story and role playing aspects quite a bit, but I really like D&D combat. Like I find, and that's kind of why I like building mechanically first. But if you have half your party likes doing that, you're going to get one really strong character, and then the people who really like story and are like, builds or whatever, they're going to be kind of weaker than the other half of the party.
Yeah.
And like, how do you balance giving players what they want when what they want might be very different things within the world of D&D?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
That is a challenge. That is the hardest thing about being a DM. Genuinely more so than any amount of preparation or improv, because I'm guilty of this a lot, where I have pretty bad anxiety in general, and I'll get very anxious when I'm about to DM something, because I'm like, I have to do everything right. Everything has to go either according to plan, or I have to improv perfectly. And then I do all of those things wrong, and none of it goes to plan, and I improv like shit, and then all of the players are like, man, that was so much fun, thank you. And then, like, you just have to realize, like, that stuff is nice, as long as you facilitate a way for people to play a game that they love, they're gonna appreciate you. But the trying to go that extra step to kind of give players the thing that they want, or even just balance like the experience that people want, I would say a great way to do that is, people talk about session zeros being very important, and a lot of like newer DMs are just like, okay, I'll do a session 0, and then they kind of miss the idea of what the goal is. The goal of a session 0 is to lay out the needs and wants of every individual that's participating. And that includes you as the DM, because you're there to have fun just as much as everyone else is, where you can say, hey, these are my plans for how this campaign should feel. For example, for my home game, I'm setting it in a world that was at the start of a campaign in an active war between two national powers, and the players were starting on an island that was owned or controlled by one of those national powers. And it was just, hey, you show up in a world that's full of war. There is going to be difficult and dangerous political circumstances. There are going to be unnatural monsters and plagues that can just kill people. The world is not there to be your friend, but that doesn't mean you can't make friends in it. And that was my pitch to the players. And I said, this is what I want to run. If that's not what you want, that's okay. We can workshop. But I want to present the idea of, I want to run a high-stakes, dangerous world. And that kind of says, with plenty of room for story and role play and everything that makes D&D what it is. But that kind of helps present an understanding to the players of, you can make whatever character you want. Just know that when combat happens, it's not there as a, let's mess around and figure out like let's run over and push the enemy to try and knock them over several times just because it's funny. It's a, no, these are, because the role play and the story is important, this is a character that wants to kill you personally. And they will do that if you let them. So session zeros can be a very powerful tool to set up expectations and to hear back from your players on what they want in particular. I don't know if that answered the question or if that just made it worse, but
answered it a little bit.
That's the best my rambling mind could come up with.
Basically being that it's the hard thing to do when DMing, but you can make approximations to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of get closer and closer as you go along.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'd say attached to that, like a more focused answer, would be, for that specific example of having half of your table really wants combat, half of your table really wants roleplay. The combat side of your table makes powerful characters, and the roleplay side of your table makes weaker characters. That's what I meant to say. So then you have the opportunity to reward your combat players with more ways to engage in combat. And you can reward your roleplay characters from combat by saying, hey, here's a way to make combat easier for you. So you can give out different types of combat rewards as a way to keep the level even. So you can say, for this combat-oriented player, I'm going to give them a tool that is incredibly versatile, not necessarily strong, but it's something that gives new and engaging options. Meanwhile,
you give options to the players that want combat, and you give just powerful upgrades to the players that want to kind of breeze through combat.
Exactly, yeah. And then even players that say, like, I only care about combat and I want to do this, are going to are going to be engaged by the story as it goes. So, like, it's hard to make a just roleplay only character because you'll always have to do combat at some point. But it's even harder to make a combat only character because even if your character pitches, I'm Gellen John Breaker and I'm a level 1 barbarian and that's my whole character, at some point the DM is going to put an NPC in front of you that's like, hey, you got to save the kids. And the player's eventually going to start getting connected. And if they don't, then you talk to them about it. You know, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. I dig that. I'm definitely much more of a role player character myself. Like, not that I don't like combat, but but I just love the role playing. It's so much fun.
For sure.
I think for me personally, the preference to combat over roleplay is almost entirely an experience thing. The combat is much easier to dig your teeth into coming from like just our other RPGs,
right,
board games or video games. You can kind of be like, oh, this is something I can understand and manipulate fairly quickly. Whereas like role playing, if you haven't done it before, it's just like, oh, I wasn't a theater kid. I don't know how to do acting or come up with things like that. And so that's just something that as I play more D&D, I imagine I'll shift around which one I actually like more.
And sometimes it takes a good campaign to sink your teeth into role playing before it's like you're like, wow, like that was a lot of fun. You know what I mean?
That can definitely be true. A lot of times the amount that I like roleplay is just based on who I'm playing with. I'll get a lot of situations where I'm gonna go try out a new group, see if I like it, and it's just like, hey, we're a really roleplay like intensive group, and I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. And then I get in and it's just like 5 people with no like interesting characterizations or just no charisma between the lot of them, and it's just a group of, and I'm not talking about the stat, I mean the players themselves, just 5 people talking in monotone voices to each other, and I'm like, I'm not gonna like get into this isn't gonna do anything engaging for me.
Have you told anyone about the experience that you had like shortly after you did Mike's streamed campaign?
I haven't said anything while live on luckcheck, if that's what you mean. I had a brief experience where I was looking around for a group to play with because I wanted to play some more D&D, and it resulted in me finding my current once or twice a month group, which I'm very happy with, where I'm playing my werewolf wizard. But the first few encounters were a little rough. There was one where it was just like, the pitch that was sent to me was, it's a very like serious like interplanar travel discovery and exploration focused like high risk like space planar travel, and I'm like, okay, that's not something I would go for normally. I'm not a sci-fi person, but that's, you know, the pitch that you gave me sounds cool. I roll in, and mind you, the first thing that was said to me was very serious. As so, like, people who want to get into the role play, who want the meat and potatoes. And I roll in, and they introduce their characters to me, and it's this guy named like Weasley, who's like from Kentucky. He's using a homebrew Saiyan race, and his backstory is that he stole the Colonel's secret recipe for Kentucky Fried Chicken. and then 6 furries. And I'm just like, hey, that's fine. I'm happy for you that you guys are having fun. That's great. I think D&D is a great way to have fun. And if that's the pitch that you guys wanted, and these are the characters you created, and this is what you're happy with, power to you. And I hope you have a great time. This is not what you told me the game was going to be. This is not as advertised, and I am miserable, and I am going to see myself out. I'll see you later.
See, I'm very much of the opinion that I don't know that I could have fun in a super serious campaign.
Hmm.
I'm definitely not gonna roll up with, Farty McBoatface
Yeah.
playing that. But like I've definitely heard, stories of campaigns where it's like, no, you're not allowed to crack jokes with other players because the
Yeah.
campaign is serious. And I'm like, I'm fine with the campaign being serious, but like as players, this is kind of a funny thing
Yeah.
Right.
that's happening. Like
Yeah.
D&D is silly at its core.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And if you can't recognize that and have to, I don't know, there's a weird boundary there between like make the campaign serious but still have fun.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Um,
That was my dream for Anadrist, which is the name of my home campaign, is I want to make a very serious and dangerous world that players can have just a stupid, chaotic fun time in. Make your decisions, make your choices. I will punish you all the way for it. Every time you make a stupid decision with an NPC, you'll get hit for it, but absolutely have fun with it.
yeah.
That is the dream. I'm frequently tempted by the offer of a very serious life or death. You have one life, like one character. You can't re-roll a new character when your character dies. I want to experience hey, we're going to do a starting at level 1, the world wants to kill you campaign. Make it as long as you can, and then give up when you're dead. I want to try that at some point.
I'd be so down for that because that's I've wanted that too because I love the concept of not because it just makes people play more, not do stupid stuff intentionally. You know what I mean? It makes players like focus on combat more and not punching a town guard in the face just because
Right,
he
yeah.
called him something. You know what I mean? It just like makes people focus, and I
Yeah,
love that idea.
Severely disincentivizes the murder hobo if you kill the
Right,
murder hobo
right,
first
right,
session.
Yeah.
right.
I don't want to, like seem too much of a Brennan Lee Mulligan stan, but Crown of Candy is exactly what I want to play in D&D. It's it is Game of Thrones meets Candyland is the pitch for that
love it.
show. And the players were told, "Hey, this is political intrigue. One of you is playing as the king of a country in a political Game of Thrones drama. There will be several assassination attempts on this character's life. And that's it." And it's just like, hey, understand that you are allowed to play the king of this country. I want you to have fun with that. I, as the DM, am going to kill you. That is the goal of the enemy, is your specific death. Not like the destruction of your kingdom because they want to take over your kingdom. It's you as a character need to die for the events to progress. And it's just like, I love that. That's great.
Yeah, that is awesome.
I want to be stressed out of my mind when I leave D&D.
I've actually never seen a full Dimension 20 campaign. Like I've seen bits and
I'm
pieces, but
still working through season 1 of Dimension 20.
nice.
I'm slow to consume D&D media,
Yeah, me
or
too.
really any media.
Nothing wrong with that. D20 is, I mentioned it again last week, is the reason I got into like D&D officially, because I played in my first campaign a little bit with my sister and was like, that wasn't that fun. I don't really understand D&D. This game kind of sucks. And then I started watching D20 and I was like, oh, if the players aren't assholes, it can be a really good time for everyone. I understand now. And then I ended up having a great time with D&D.
Yeah.
I think the very first experience with D&D I had was a game that you put on Johnny as like a one shot for us and the siblings, and none of us knew what to do. Like I didn't know that there was a player's handbook.
Yeah.
So
Aubrey,
just, like-
sorry, my sister, who I've name dropped now accidentally. Whoops. I'm sure she'll be all right. Our mutual sister is the only one who owns the player's handbook. I don't even own the player's handbook.
Yeah, but like at the time, I didn't know that there were actual like rules to D&D combat, because everything I heard about D&D was just like, oh, it's a game that you come up with as you play, but it's a story that you come up with as you play. The game itself has very specific rules to it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was just like, oh, you say you're going to come up and punch a thing, and then the DM tells you what happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I thought that's how. That like, it was like, what's the dice aspect? I don't understand this.
And I
Um,
trying to DM for my 3 older siblings who I was constantly trying to impress at the time. I was like, yeah, that you can do that. I don't see anything here that says you can't. I don't understand the rules. I'm too young.
Meanwhile, just
Yeah, I'm trying to
fuming.
think. I remember all 3 of the characters that you guys came up with. I don't remember the names, but I knew
I
who you were
remember
playing
that
as.
I was a tiefling who sounded. I tried to sound like Hank Hill.
Yeah, you were a tiefling warlock,
Yeah.
of the great old one.
Yes.
And then we had my eldest sister was playing as a bard, who was, I think all she knew about D&D was that bards could seduce anyone, and she was like, great, I got it. And so she
Which
went
she
for that.
then gave that bard the voice of our grandmother,
Yes.
which was a weird call to make in your seduce the dragon bard.
Yeah. And then the other sister played as a character that she then went on to play later in the first actual campaign that she and I played in, which is a deep gnome, a Sverfnelblend, which is her favorite race. Specifically a druid in that one-off, but went on to be a monk in the campaign we played. It was a right mess. We had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what was happening. I left having fun, but I left also understanding they don't want to do this again, because this was
Yeah,
not
it
an
was very
engaging
much a
experience.
when we left, I was like, that was fun. I don't feel the need to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have
it was
since
interesting.
run a 2-day session with our 2 sisters, where I went over to their place for a while, and was just like, hey, if you guys want to, just like as an aside, I've gotten really into D&D recently, and I'm much better at it than the last time we tried to play. Do you want to like try D&D again? And uh, eldest sister was like, sure, if you guys are doing it. And then we were just like, yeah, let's go for it. And it turned into a wild, just great like practice in improv for me, which was just one of my sisters is a bit more passive voice in character, in the sense of like, I'll follow the plot hooks, but I'm not really going to engage things myself. And then the other of my sister is very much a what plot hooks? I'm making my own story. Also, what's happening? And no, that would be not the best for a long form campaign, but knowing my sisters, I knew this going in, and I was
Yeah.
fully prepared for it. So I didn't prepare anything. I was just like, hey, I'm gonna bring you a character sheet and tell you what to do to like do the basic actions. Here's a 5th level storm barbarian. And she was like, a what now? And I was like, when you get mad, you create lightning that strikes someone near you. And she was like, awesome. I'm in. And it turned into one of the best D&D experiences I've had, because it was just, I didn't make plot hooks. I would make characters. And then my eldest sister would say like, oh yeah, I know that guy. We've been friends for like 20 years working at this bar in town. And I was like, yeah, his name's Bart's Impson, and he's a porcine. He's a pig man. And so Bart's Impson was the primary villain for this setup, because he was like, yeah, he has imp in the name. He's like, he's a pig demon, and that's he's kidnapping people to add their flesh to his flesh, and that's the gimmick. They also fought like fantasy Hitler at some point, because it just made sense in the, where the story was going. It's all good.
Yeah, it just makes sense, huh?
Yeah, it was a good time. Just
That's awesome.
I more often, I would love to more often play a just plan to like throw the plans in the trash. Here's like a intensive like 6 I think it was like almost 8 hours of D&D split across 2 days. Like, here, so we have a weekend together to hang out. We don't have any plans other than let's hang out. I'll bring the D&D stuff. You guys make a character, or don't even. I'll make one for you. And just let's pop off with some dumb improv garbage for 8 hours. That would be great. I want to do that again.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I'm not sure that's something I would want to do on stream, because I do want to present a little bit on stream.
Absolutely.
You know what you're doing.
Oh, please. You act like I didn't have a bullet list of plans of things that I figured the players would do, and I wasn't checking off each bullet point as you guys did it. Because that is I'm not going to show you the document yet because you haven't seen everything that could happen in it, but that absolutely is happening.
Dang it, man. It feels bad as a player. Just falling right into the traps of the DM. You gotta hate it.
Sometimes people are more predictable than they think they are.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. It's not that I'm, trying to be unpredictable or anything, so it doesn't really bother me. But
yeah, and
it hurts.
I am more than happy to throw away plans that I've come up with if it makes more sense for what the players are doing, what the story is. But if I have an idea of what the players are going to do, I can plan around what I think they'll do, and then when they do it, it's just like a nice. I did it.
Yeah.
Johnny has 20 plans in a trench coat from Alex and Chad.
I'll take it. It's better than being just too many spiders in a trench coat.
Or bees.
Or bees. Not the bees.
No, or bees.
Oh, my bad, my bad.
Yeah.
Let's destroy a local plumbing line. Let's see.
So Ben in chat is asking, I think this is about the kind of 8-hour full improv. Like, how do you get something started like that? How do you hook people in for a plan of pure improv D&D?
I'll tell you what I did, but I don't know that it's the best way to do it for every circumstance. It worked well because they are my sisters. And there's a certain amount of expectation of, we're just having fun. I am not, like, there's no personal feelings in this. There's no investment in this other than I want to hang out with my sisters and have a good time. So there's an amount of just, you need to, have a bit of trust with the players you're working with.
Yeah, that might be rule number one for this, is do it with, family members or incredibly close friends that you know are down for this.
I would say that would be rule number one. And then, so what I did was, after seeing that they were okay with it, I wrote a paragraph of explanation to start the session off and had 0 plans after that. So I wrote, you guys have been working for the magistrate of the king for about maybe 5 to 10 years, depending on what your positions are. One of you's a servant kind of job in the area, but you get paid and everything. It's not slave labor. You're fully employed as just I put on the venue for when events happen at this guy's estate. And so I'm just like, okay, it's a coming of age ball for the noble's son. One of you is working the ground floor, one of you is security. And that was after asking them each what they wanted to do, after giving them that pitch, and I said, okay. The ball starts almost immediately. Someone breaks in and tries to kidnap the son that's coming of age. What do you do? And it's just, we start there. I've given them, here's your base level investment. You're one of you is employed by the place to just work there, and something bad, something shitty happens on your day shift, and the other one of you is employed to stop things like this from happening, and something is happening. What do you do? And it started there, and then 8 hours later, they had killed Fantasy Hitler, they had taken over the estate, and they were now inducted into a Secret Service for fighting against social injustice. And that was the end of that session, and they had a great time, and it's just, yeah. So I would say,
So,
yeah, so go
so
ahead.
start with people that you trust and enjoy the company of, and then just go for incredibly straightforward, high stakes plot hooks
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
to be like reel them in as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Reel them in
Yeah.
as
You don't
quickly
want
as
to you don't want
possible.
to start with the you ramble on into town. What do you do?
No, it's just like, you've been here for 8 years. All of a sudden, something wild happens. What are you doing?
Right. I have a group of buddies that I grew up with who every 6 months or so we'll just do like a little one shot, and we'll take turns theming, me and my buddy, and that's what we do. We just create crazy situations like that
Yeah,
and get our way out of it.
it's a good way to
It's
go.
it's the best.
I think Tovi and I will frequently uh, pitch ideas for just anything really at each other. It's been going on for quite a lot of years, but like especially we went to college together, and we shared a dorm room for a while, and so it'd just be 3 a.m. We finished the ice cream that's in the freezer, and we both are 2 beers in. Do you want to make a board game? And so this is how Tovi and I, our friendship has been for years. It's just like, what if we used novel AI to write the rest of the story for luckcheck? We just input a script, we input all of the notes that Connor has made, and we put it into an AI script generator and use that to plan the rest of what do we do with that? That's not what's happening, but it's very much our relationship.
Yeah.
This is how I know yours and I college experience is very different because I dormed with computer scientists and other physicists. And so the late night conversation that I remember the most is we sat down and said, how many hard drives would it take to store the entire world in Minecraft? If you rebuilt Earth completely in Minecraft, how many hard drives would it take? And we found out you had to
Well,
bury our college in about 2 meters of half gigabyte or half terabyte hard drives,
fair
Oh my
enough.
god.
and you would hold all of the globe
To
in
be
Minecraft.
fair, not a huge college.
No, no,
No,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
no,
not a
this is
very
not a
big one.
university campus. This is a
Okay.
small,
Making me
small
feel a little bit
boarding
better.
school.
Okay.
Question from Ben in chat: do you use Excel for keeping track of improved? Uh,
Probably
I assume
improvised.
that means improvised plot beats as well. What do you use to keep track of what's happening as you DM? Other than my plans that I've come up with ahead of a session, I'm not taking any notes during a session. This might be controversial, but I have something that's called an OK memory. And I usually just at the end of a session will write down the important things. Um, or if just like, I don't know, if there's like a number that I need to pull out of my ass, like you guys get rolls several D100, like 432 gold pieces. That's crazy. I'll like jot that down really quick. So it's just like, oh, they got this much gold from this place. But I'm not really actively taking notes mid-session because I feel like I get distracted and I lose the pacing too fast if I have to like pull up something on my computer.
Yeah, that's one thing that I am quite the opposite on is my memory is not okay. And but I also struggle like it's very hard for me, and the reason I stopped, I only have the 5 sessions of notes. I didn't do it for session 6, but it's very hard for me to focus on doing both at the same time.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
like the only time I would type in notes is after I was done with my little bit, and then I just kind of listened and typed away, and while also trying to type out what I just did.
Right.
But it's I wish I had a better brain, but I don't.
Well, I
That
have
was I practiced taking notes for this last session of luck check because I knew it actually didn't matter how good my notes were since I'm a
Yeah.
guest character. So I was just like, oh, let me see how easy it is for me to take notes while a session is going on. And it was kind of like, okay, especially it helped because our party was split in town quite frequently.
Yeah.
So if we weren't focused on where Chuck was, I could be like, okay, I don't need to worry about talking. I can write down what just happened with me and what's currently happening with this group of people.
Yeah.
Wait,
right.
and then
Yeah.
like 20 minutes later, go back, write some more notes. There's plenty of time to do that, it seems.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I suffer from the problem of if I am typing something and I try to speak, I will speak out loud what I am typing.
Yep.
100% of the time.
I do the reverse. Is I'll start typing when I'm speaking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's what
I
I
can't.
do. Yeah.
It's because my internal monologue is a lot louder than anything else that's going on in my head. So the brain that I use to think the words is the brain that I use to speak the words. So if I'm
Yeah.
thinking what I'm typing, then I'm saying that thing.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, I think this has been a very fun little chat. It's been great to have you guys on. Thank you so much for taking the
Feel
time out
the
of your
obligation.
afternoons. Yeah, fill the
I feel
obligation.
the obligation of talking about D&D for a set
Exactly.
amount of time.
Do the task for the amount of time I asked you to do the task for. You did a great job. I'm going to ask you guys a question, and then I'm going to have you stall for time while I figure out who we're rating, and that's the plan.
No,
So where can we find you guys and any of your work? Anything that you're working on, like your streams, the stuff that you do. If you put anything online, where can we find it? What is it? Talk about it. Tell the people.
you go first, buddy.
Okay, so you can find me. I am getting back into streaming more regularly at twitch.tv/eco390. I can't get eco because it's too short of a word, and someone else grabs it every time. Um, but I will be on probably later tonight. A little game called Xenoblade Chronicles 3 came out today, and it's my favorite series of all time. So I'm going to be playing that. Probably like all goddamn weekend.
I think that's
I'll be
right.
playing. Hey, you nailed it.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Very cool. And what about you,
I
Connor?
don't have any other social media.
So I also stream, but again, very, very infrequently, irregularly, and uh frankly just not enough. But yeah, just at ConCruton, twitch.tv/ConCruton. I mainly play FPS games over there, which
Word.
is fun. Come over and laugh at me and stuff. And then if you want to hear any of my music, I have a SoundCloud link.
Absolutely.
Um,
Feel
but a
free.
lot of it,
Yeah, you can put that in chat. Go for it.
cool. But a lot of it is, I gotta
Let's
find
see
my
if
mod.
Automod lets you. I mean, let you put the Twitch link, so hopefully.
I think it's because I'm a mod.
Oh, yeah. True.
But a lot of my stuff is, I signed in with the wrong thing. A lot of my stuff is like unfinished stuff that I posted on SoundCloud.
Yeah,
But I can't find it, and I don't care to find it right now. I'll do
very
it
well.
later, or I'll post it in Discord or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's about it.
Very cool. As for myself, I also stream pretty infrequently, but I've been recently getting back into streaming. Specifically, roguelikes and Darkest Dungeon 2 is the current thing I'm working on.
Yeah.
Big fan of that game. You can find me at twitch.tv/plodov, which is not spelled how it sounds, so don't worry about it. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for stopping by. It's been a great time to have you here. Just two last housekeeping things. We do have a YouTube and a Discord, both of which can be found by doing !YouTube and or !Discord in chat. Feel free to just stop on by the Discord. It's a growing community of people who like D&D, play tabletop role-playing games, or do none of the things and just know us personally, or just like listening to luckcheck, all of which are acceptable reasons to come hang out, talk with the players, talk with the DMs, talk with each other, have a great time. That is all I've got. Anything from the rest of y'all?
No, I just thank you for coming out, talking to us, asking questions. It's been a lot of fun. You guys helped out with some of the questions.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been a fun time. Thanks to the people in chat who have been hanging out and chatting.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you very much. We are going to pop off on a raid. Oh no, they have a follower subscriber only chat. That's fine. We're still going. We're gonna half off to Mester Pug. They're playing some D&D. We're gonna have a good time. Thank you, and good night.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, we're good.
Hey.
That went perfectly.
Very good.
Oh, you also rated a Portuguese.
They're not English.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But
I wish I could speak Portuguese.
To be fair, did I have a way of knowing that beforehand?
the
Yes,
tag is
yes, the
Portugal and
tag is
Portuguese.
that's fine.
I mean, there's no problem rating someone who we don't understand. But
Yeah, no, yeah,
It's
for
fine.
sure.
All right. Thanks again, y'all. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
yeah.
I'm gonna go probably eat something. There's Alex in the background.
Hello, Alex.
Absolute monster.
Yeah, I'm gonna go source some dinner and then
Yeah.
play a game.
Just a couch
Hell
goblin.
yeah. I got softball to go play, so
Absolutely.
I
dang.
will go do that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
See y'all later.
Yep.
I'll be in your
Goodbye,
stream in a bit,
guys.
Ian.
Yeah.
Adios.
Also, great meeting you, Ian, as well.
Yeah, same.
Absolutely. Goodbye, guys.